We've got a Remington 700 long action bolt set up in a Bounty bolt truing fixture here, and lots of people ask us about blueprinting actions. So we've been through what cuts get made on the action. I thought we'd just go through some of the cuts that get made onto the bolt. So on the bolt itself, you recut the back of the locking lugs here. We recut the front of the locking lugs, the very end of the bolt for concentricity, the front face of the bolt, and then the actual bolt face itself with the cartridge head spaces onto. So we're going to make some of those cuts and then show you as those cuts are made. It's absolutely imperative that both of the bolt lugs, or any lugs, any number of lugs on a bolt action rifle, remain in contact with the seats in the action. So we've just recut the back face of these locking lugs to make sure that they are both at exactly the same distance in the action, so that when one lug sits down, the other sits down at exactly the same time. So there's no movement in the bolt head on firing, so that the round doesn't get a chance to move at the back end of the cartridge and misalign the projectile in your new barrel. And now we've cut the front of the locking lugs, and we've cut the front of the locking lugs here. We've uniformed the end of the bolt and the very nose of the bolt, and that means that when we measure up to make the new barrel for the rifle, and we measure the shank, we measure down onto the front of the lugs themselves, and then we just want 10 thou gap between the end of these lugs and the beginning of your barrel. So we want a very tight fit, and we want a good fit around the nose of this counterbore portion of the bolt into the counterbore in the end of your barrel. So we've uniformed that so that when we cut the end of the barrel, we can again run tight tolerance in the barrel itself. And then we're going to mount it up into a different fixture, and we're going to recut the bolt face so that the bolt face is completely concentric. And we've taken the minimum amount of material off to uniform the bolt face dimensionally from one side to the other, and now with the bolt and the action both blueprinted, it's ready for us to take the dimensions and start cutting the barrel to fit the newly blueprinted action.